Hey, everybody, this is Abby Ranella with Homeschool Idaho, and many of you have gotten alerts recently about a bill that's going on right now that is a concern for Homeschool Idaho. And many of you have been active and writing letters, but there's been so many questions coming through, people not understanding exactly how this might affect us and wanting more information. So I am here with Barry Peters and Jim Mason from HSLDA, and we are going to answer some questions for you and help you understand what this is all about. So, Barry, you're with Homeschool Idaho, and you have been with Homeschool Idaho for many, many years. Will you just open up really quick, explain this bill to us, and then help us understand the history of Homeschool Idaho?
You bet. The bill is a bill in the House of Representatives here in Idaho. It is fashioned as a scholarship bill. It intends to, for the first time ever, fund private education in the state of Idaho, whether that's private schools or homeschools. So that's what the bill is. There was an initial version of it that went forward for the last week or so. That one seems to have been sidelined. And as of this morning, there's a new version of it that's very similar. And that one looks like the one that they're going to pursue from this point forward. The history here in Idaho, many of you know that 35 years ago, there were 6 parents here in Idaho, about 25 miles from where I'm sitting, who were in jail because they felt they should have the freedom to teach their children at home. They spent an extended period of time in jail, these 6 parents, and that sort of started the process of Idaho thinking about home education. From there was a series of court decisions, a lot of work in the legislature, and one small step at a time, homeschoolers managed to peel back the restrictions, the government oversight that initially was in place. That came to an apex in 2009. There was a new rewriting of the compulsory education statute that gave us tremendous liberties here in Idaho, with us not being directly under the management of any state agency, any state department. So that's the freedom that we've enjoyed now for 11 years. We have thrived in that free environment. We have, during the last 20 or 25 years, been very careful every year to tell the legislature, we appreciate dearly our freedoms. We do not want your state funding. So that's the message we've been giving for many, many years.
Okay, wonderful. And so, Jim, the question is that we're getting from a lot of parents and people is, if we don't apply for this money, I can just say no to this, then how would that even threaten me? Why is this important to me if I just say no, thank you, I'm not going to apply for the money?
Yeah, so Barry just outlined the struggle for liberty to homeschool in Idaho. And, liberty is not something that we are promised or guaranteed into the future. We have to be careful to protect our liberties. And homeschoolers traditionally have not gone to the government and said, please give us a handout. What we have said is, please keep your hands off. We'll take charge of our children's education without your help. And so while this is not going to directly affect those homeschooling parents who want to remain private today, it does open a wedge. I mean, it's a wedge into that liberty that's been fought for over all these years. The ideological opponents of home education do not think that home education should remain a liberty-based movement. And public funding is just one way that they will use to argue that the government should be more in charge of not just those who take the funding, but all homeschoolers. And so it's just a bad idea to get started down this road today or tomorrow or ever.
Right. So it sounds to me a little bit like that analogy of the frog in the pot, and the money being the cheese in the mousetrap, right? Where the money seems appealing, but it's just a slow process, baby steps towards losing our freedom. So what would you say to the parent that says, hey, this is my tax money. It's already my money. I'm not taking government money. I'm just taking my money that's already mine to homeschool my own children, because I'm hearing that a lot. Can you help us understand that, Jim?
Yeah, so again, I go back to the ideological opponents of homeschooling. They believe that the public money should come with strings attached, and the strings that maybe they won't attach it today, but they'll eventually want to attach it, will take away your liberties in small ways to begin with, and then more and more as we go by. I just want to point out that I have written this article, The Civic Virtue of Private Home Education. And in it, I try to go back to first principles. The first principles are the government doesn't exist to pay for us to educate our kids. It exists to preserve our liberties. And the civic virtue of home education is a blessing to our nation because we have taken on the right responsibility of taking charge of our own children's education without the government being involved at all. And we don't want to go backwards. I've sent this PDF document to you, and you're going to be sending it out along with this video. So I'd encourage people to read it because it goes into some great detail about the philosophical and the underpinnings for why we come to this position.
Wonderful. And we will make sure that we will link that with this video so everybody has access to that. We will also link the video of the homeschooling, the history of homeschooling in Idaho. So parents, as you can hear, it is absolutely imperative that we stand against this. And whether this affects us today or tomorrow, it will affect us. It is baby steps to take our freedom. So if you value freedom to educate your own children and in the way that God it commands us to teach and train them up in the way of the Lord, then we need to take a stand on this. And you have a team of people that are working hard on this, but we need you. We need you to get involved in this. So Barry, tell us, what can we do and how can we get involved in and support Homeschool Idaho in this?
Well, I trust, first of all, that everybody is a member and receiving the newsletter from Homeschool Idaho. That will give you alerts periodically to tell you what exactly is the next step in the process and how you can be a part of that. When those alerts come in, it is critically important that as many of us as possible respond and respond quickly. We have done an excellent job so far this session. The legislators are very impressed that we are approaching something like 500 emails on this issue. That definitely has their attention. They're still pushing back, speaking some things that aren't exactly accurate. So we'll continue to educate, but we'll specifically issue an urgent action alert when we need you to do something right now. Secondly, on the heels of that, turn around, pivot, forward that email to as many of your homeschooling friends as possible.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you. And make sure you get those. And just for perspective, this is the first one we've sent out in 16 years, I understand. So we don't just take this lightly. When you guys get an alert, this is important. This is serious. Your freedoms are at stake here. So again, forward it to your co-ops, post it on your Facebook page. This is important. And honestly, it takes about 3 minutes. We make it easy for you. We give you the emails and the addresses. There is a fight for our freedom right now, if you're not aware, and we have to come together. We have to collaborate and work together to make sure that we stand for our homeschool freedom so that we can train and teach our children the way God intended. So Jim, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for writing this material that we can launch out to everybody. Please read it. Barry, we owe so much to you in the state of Idaho, and it is because of you that we can do what we're doing today. So I cannot thank you enough, and I thank you on behalf of all homeschoolers in the state of Idaho for taking the time and helping us to understand this.
Very happy to. Jim, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, guys, check out the links below. You'll have everything you need for information, who to contact, and answer all your questions. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.
Take care.